Hi, I'm Carrie, and this is Sandra Sisterhood. This is a YouTube channel for the single and childless, not by choice person. Our video today is common myths that are associated with those who are single and childless, not by choice. Our first myth is related to how people perceive or what they think about the fact that you're single and childless. There are some of us where this was not a choice, and a myth that a lot of people just subscribe to everybody is that it was our choice. That if a woman is single and childless, that it means that it's what they chose, and then insert a lot of derogatory comments there, right? Like a woman who doesn't have these things, it must be because it's her choice, and therefore it must be because she doesn't prioritize things. That is a myth. You know what's also a myth on this one is that all those derogatory comments that people associate with women who don't have children, even if you chose not to have children, all of those things are a myth. You're not selfish. You're not a workaholic. All it means is you didn't want a kid. If you are those things, it has nothing to do with the fact that you don't have children. If somebody doesn't want to have kids, that should be their choice. It should actually be celebrated. What is your problem? Why do you care if somebody has kids or not? Unless you're trying to push a religious or political agenda, right? So, not all women who are childless, is it because it's their choice? And P.S., if it is their choice, that's okay too. The next one is that the reason you're childless is because you didn't prioritize it. You were too hard chasing money. And so now you have money in place of family and connection, and that makes you a lonely, bitter person. Again, most people who are childless, whether it's by choice or not by choice, it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with the fact that they aren't prioritizing something that they'll regret later. Either they are prioritizing it and it's one of these, oh crap moments, this isn't going to happen because of XYZ, or it's I don't want kids and money has nothing to do with that. I may have more money because I don't have children, so I may have more disposable income, but guess what? You also may not. Having kids doesn't mean no money, and not having kids doesn't mean money. Money comes from work, which is completely independent of being childless. Number 3, that you have lots of money and that you have lots of time if you're childless. You may have lots of money. You may have lots of time if you're childless. You also may have those things if you have kids. Maybe you have a nanny. Maybe your kids go off to school. Maybe your kids are no longer living with you. Maybe your kids never lived with you. I don't know. There's lots of reasons for this. But the idea that if you don't have children, that you automatically have time and money is really simplistic and stupid. Just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you don't have a family. It doesn't mean you don't have responsibilities. It doesn't automatically mean that you're in a profession that gets compensated really well. Again, those things are not interlinked together. I think sometimes people talk about being parents, I have no money or I have no time or things like that. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm not a parent. I can't speak to that. What I can speak is the experience of not having kids and feeling like sometimes I don't have time or money because I got to do a lot of things. The next myth that I want to make sure I talk about here is that if you're childless, either by choice or not by choice, you hate kids. Again, that's wrong. I think there's lots of people with kids who may say they hate kids, right? It's not like you have to go through a series of like tests or markers in order to have kids. It's actually kind of one act for some people to have kids. For some people, it's a lot of fertility treatments and things like that. But you don't have to like hit a bunch of check boxes in order to have kids. So you can hate kids and have kids. You can not have kids and hate kids. Or hate has nothing to do with it. right? And just because I am childless, not by choice, it also doesn't mean that I want to babysit your kids. It doesn't mean that I want your kids. It doesn't mean that I want to spend all my time around kids. Those things are not the same. Some people do, some people don't. People who are single and childless, not by choice, are as multifaceted and multidimensional as everybody else, right? Anytime we start subscribing a bunch of blanket statements to one population of people, it's typically wrong. The next myth that I want to talk about is that if you're childless, it's because you're too picky or expectations were so high that therefore it's your fault that you didn't find a partner and now you're childless. Or if you're single, the reason you're single and you're a certain age is because you were too picky, you didn't settle down in time because of some character flaw of you. No. P.S. I also think there's a lot of people who are married that maybe weren't picky enough. Or now they're stuck in a situation where they don't feel that it's this wedded bliss that we talked about. It's okay to be single, and it's not always somebody's fault. Sometimes things just don't happen the way they do for somebody else. So, being picky and having too high of expectations, maybe it's a part of why you're single and maybe it's not, but you can't subscribe that to everybody. All right, the last myth that I'm going to talk about is that if you're single and childless, not by choice, it's because you failed or you did something wrong or there's something inherently wrong with you. No, sometimes life's a bitch and it doesn't work out the way that you want it to, right? And we can try really hard for things. We can want things. We can be deserving of things, and it doesn't work out for whatever reason. It's just not the plan that's in store for us. So if you are single and childless, not by choice, or you know somebody who is, it doesn't mean they're a failure. It doesn't mean they're less than. It doesn't mean they're a failure or they've messed up with something. All it means is exactly that they are single and they don't have children. So let me know what you think about the myths that I've called out. And there are lots of other myths out there. So let me know which ones I missed and which ones you think you relate to. So subscribe to Sandra Sisterhood for more videos targeted toward the single and childless, not by choice person.